AITA for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding after she uninvited me? So, some background. I, 27M, have a sister, Amanda, 29F, who has always been a bit dramatic. She's always been the center of attention in our family, and for the most part, I've been okay with that. We're not exactly super close, but I've always done my best to support her when I can. The issue started when Amanda got engaged to her fiancé, James, 32M. From the beginning, it was clear that they wanted a big, expensive wedding. My parents are fairly well off, so they were more than willing to help out with the costs. However, what they didn't expect was how controlling Amanda would be about every little detail of the event. I'm not really the wedding type. I don't care much about the decorations, the cake, or anything like that. But I do understand that for some people, it's a huge deal. What bothered me, though, was how Amanda started demanding that everyone, including my parents and me, contribute more and more to the wedding in terms of both money and time. First, she asked my parents to cover the full cost of the reception. Then came the demands for extravagant gifts for her bridal party. And then, when she started planning the honeymoon, she asked for even more. At one point, she sent me a long message detailing how much I owed her for being her brother. She claimed that because she had always supported me throughout my life, I needed to step up and contribute to her big day. I was taken aback by the fact that she felt entitled to my money, and I told her that I couldn't afford to give her that much, especially considering that I was saving up for my own future and living on a modest salary. She didn't take it well. She started saying things like, "I can't believe you're not supporting me in this, and if you really cared about me, you'd find a way to help me." I thought that was unfair, but I still try to be understanding. I offered to help in other ways, like helping to organize the wedding or making some contributions that were within my budget. But here's where things got worse. About a month before the wedding, Amanda uninvited me. Just like that. She called me one evening, and the conversation went something like this: "Amanda, I've been thinking about it, and I don't think you should come to my wedding." Me? Wait, what? Why? What's going on? Amanda, honestly, I'm just really disappointed in how you've handled things. I've asked you to contribute, and you've been so uncooperative. I don't need negative energy in my wedding. If you can't be there to fully support me, then I'd rather you not come at all. I was absolutely floored. First of all, I didn't think I'd been negative or unsupportive. I hadn't yelled at her or made a scene. I've been calm and just said I couldn't contribute as much as she wanted. But she seemed to be acting like I had personally betrayed her. I tried to reason with her, but she was firm in her decision. She said, "If you can't contribute in a meaningful way, I'd rather you not be there. It's my day, and I need people who support me fully." To make matters worse, she told our parents that she was disappointed in me, and they ended up taking her side. My mom and dad didn't directly say it, but I could tell they were upset with me, too. They didn't pressure me to pay, but they kept telling me I should try harder to support Amanda because it was her special day. Now, here's where things get complicated. I had already paid for a non-refundable plane ticket to the wedding, booked time off work, and taken care of all the other logistics. I'd also gotten her a wedding gift, one that I thought was thoughtful and personal. It was an extravagant gift, but I figured it would be meaningful. But after being uninvited, I was left with this ticket and no wedding to go to. I felt like I'd been kicked to the curb for trying to stick to a budget, and I wasn't sure how to handle it. I thought about just letting it go, but I ended up calling her fiancé, James, to try to get some perspective. I had always gotten along pretty well, and I thought maybe he could talk some sense into her. James said that he agreed with Amanda that I hadn't been very supportive, but he didn't want to get involved. He told me that Amanda's always been like this, and he couldn't stop her from making decisions. He also added, "I'm sorry, man, but you might want to just let it go. She's already made her mind up." I couldn't let it go. After all, I still had this plane ticket, and I wasn't about to let it go to waste. So I reached out to Amanda one last time and offered to pay for the wedding expenses I had initially been asked to contribute to. I told her that if she wanted me there, I'd be happy to make up for it financially, even if she didn't want me involved in the planning. Her response? "I don't need your charity. I don't want your money, and I don't want you at my wedding. I've made my decision." So I called my parents to tell them I wasn't going, and that's when they really started to get upset with me. They said I was being childish and I was letting petty money issues ruin our family. They said I should just apologize to Amanda and attend the wedding, even if she had uninvited me. But at that point, I felt like I was being taken advantage of. I had already done everything I could to be supportive, but I wasn't about to be guilted into paying for a wedding I wasn't even invited to. The fallout was huge. My parents are still upset with me, and I haven't spoken to Amanda since the uninvitation. She's still going ahead with the wedding, and I'm honestly kind of relieved that I'm not going. I've been feeling a lot of guilt about the whole situation, and I'm wondering if I did the wrong thing by standing my ground. AITA for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding after she uninvited me? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for refusing to support my sister's wedding because she's marrying someone who cheated on me? I, 28M, have an older sister, Rachel, 32F. We've always had a bit of a complicated relationship, but it's mostly been cordial. We've had our moments, like any siblings, but I never thought it would come to a point where we'd be at odds like this. To understand the situation, I need to give some background. About 3 years ago, I was in a long-term relationship with a woman named Laura, 27F. We were together for almost 5 years, and we were living together. Our relationship had its ups and downs, but I thought we were in a good place. Things took a turn one evening when I came home early from a work trip. I found Laura and Rachel, my sister, in an inappropriate situation. I don't want to go into too much detail, but basically my sister was sleeping with my girlfriend behind my back. I was devastated. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. The betrayal from both of them was crushing. My sister, someone who I'd always looked up to in some ways, and Laura, who I thought I was going to marry, both decided to hurt me in one of the worst ways possible. They tried to explain it away by saying it was a moment of weakness and that it just happened. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I kicked Laura out immediately, and I told Rachel I didn't want to speak to her anymore. It's been 3 years since then, and I've done a lot of healing. Laura and I never spoke again. It's been difficult because I had so many mutual friends with her, and seeing her move on with someone else while I was still processing everything made it harder. But I eventually moved on, started dating again, and I'm in a much better place now. I don't think I'll ever completely forget the betrayal, but I've tried to let it go and not carry the bitterness around. Then came the bombshell. Rachel got engaged. At first, I thought it was a joke, but no. Rachel was marrying the man I had once considered my best friend, Matt, 34M, who I had been close with for years. Matt was the guy who had been my right-hand man, the one I went to for advice, and he was always supportive of me. The same guy who had also been one of the people who knew about the affair between Rachel and Laura. He knew everything, and instead of telling me, he chose to sleep with my girlfriend and sister. I found out about the engagement through our parents. They were ecstatic. My mother started going on and on about how it's about time Rachel found someone who really gets her. Meanwhile, I felt like I was in some weird nightmare. I felt like I was being asked to accept a reality where the two people who had destroyed my life were now celebrating their love for each other. It felt cruel. It felt like a slap in the face. I didn't say much at first, but I knew I couldn't go to the wedding. I couldn't pretend everything was fine and dandy when I had been so deeply hurt by both of them. When Rachel asked me to be a groomsman, I told her that I couldn't be part of it. I explained that the relationship I once had with both her and Matt was broken beyond repair. I wasn't going to stand there and pretend I was okay with their relationship, especially given the history between us. That's when the backlash started. Rachel started calling me selfish. She said I was being petty and holding on to the past, that it was time for me to move on and accept their love. My parents said I was making a mistake and that I should just show up for the sake of the family. They even suggested I get therapy to work through my issues, which honestly, I'd already been doing. My therapist told me it was okay to set boundaries, and this was definitely one of those situations where I had to protect my own mental health. But here's where I might be the asshole. Despite all the pressure, I refused to support the wedding. I told Rachel that I would not attend, not because I wanted to punish her, but because I didn't think I could ever get past the way they had betrayed me. It wasn't just about them being in a relationship now. It was about the fact that I was supposed to just forget what they had done and act like it was all okay. Rachel has accused me of ruining her special day. She says that I'm making everything about me and that it's unfair to her. My parents are still on her side, but a few of my friends have sided with me, saying that I've every right to feel the way I do. Still, I feel like maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe I should just let it go for the sake of family harmony. But the idea of being forced to celebrate their union just doesn't sit right with me. Am I the asshole here? Should I just suck it up and go for the sake of peace? Or is it okay for me to stand my ground? AITA for refusing to let my sister-in-law move in with us after she was evicted, even though my husband wants to help her. So here's the situation. I, 29F, am married to my husband, Greg, 31M. We've been together for 6 years and married for 3. We have a pretty solid marriage, I think, but this situation is testing us a bit. Greg's sister, Anna, 32F, has always been a bit of a wild card. She's the type who always seems to be just getting by, never really getting her act together. She has a good heart, but she makes some pretty questionable decisions like racking up credit card debt and constantly moving between different jobs, never sticking to anything long-term. A few weeks ago, we found out that Anna was evicted from her apartment. Apparently, she couldn't pay the rent because she had been out of work for a couple of months. She called Greg in tears, and of course, he immediately wanted to help her. He said he wanted to invite her to stay with us until she could get back on her feet. Now, Greg and I have a nice, quiet life. We're both professionals with stable jobs, and we've worked hard to build our home and create a peaceful living space. We live in a small, 2-bedroom apartment in the city, and while we get along well and our place is cozy, it's not the kind of space that can easily accommodate another person long-term. Plus, we don't have a guest room, so Anna would be staying in our living room on an air mattress or something. I immediately expressed my concerns. I told Greg that while I understand Anna's situation, I wasn't comfortable with her living with us. It's not just that our apartment is small, though that's part of it. I also have concerns about Anna's history of not following through on her responsibilities. In the past, she's borrowed money from us and not paid it back. And when she stays with us, she tends to get really dependent. She doesn't help with bills or groceries, and she has a way of making herself very at home without offering much in return. I'm worried that this time wouldn't be any different, and I just don't think I'm ready to take on that burden. Greg was really upset by my response. He said that I was being unsympathetic and that it's family. How could I just turn my back on his sister when she needs us most? He said that it's temporary, and once she's back on her feet, she'll leave. But I'm skeptical. Anna's temporary stays have always turned into much longer ones in the past. I tried to explain that I wasn't against helping her, but I thought that there were other options. I suggested that she stay with their parents or look into other temporary housing solutions, like renting a room or staying in a short-term rental. But Greg insists that families should stick together, and he believes that helping Anna directly is the best thing to do. He's upset that I'm not more willing to make this sacrifice for his sister. I've had a lot of stress lately with work, and I just don't feel like taking on the responsibility of housing someone who hasn't shown much accountability for their own life. I made it clear that if Anna moves in, I won't be handling any of the logistics. Greg would be responsible for making sure she contributes financially and helps around the house. But Greg is firm that this isn't an option. He wants her here, and he believes we should help her as a family. Our disagreement has caused a lot of tension between us. He's now upset with me for not being more supportive, and I feel like he's dismissing my concerns as if they don't matter. I know it's important to him, but I feel like I'm the one who's being asked to compromise more than he is. Here's where I'm stuck. I love Greg, and I want to support him, but I also feel like I need to draw a line here. I don't want to be put in a situation where I'm constantly uncomfortable in my own home just to make Greg happy. I've told him that if he's insistent on her moving in, he can handle all of the responsibilities, but he hasn't been receptive to that either. He keeps saying that it's our responsibility as a couple to help her, and that I need to be more understanding. So, AITA for not wanting Anna to move in with us? I feel like I'm being asked to give up my peace of mind and my personal space for someone who hasn't shown the ability to be responsible. But at the same time, I understand that family is important. I just don't know how much I should be willing to sacrifice for that. I know Greg wants to help, but am I being unreasonable for not wanting this? Should I just suck it up and let her move in, or should I stand my ground and refuse? I am honestly torn. AITA for wanting to say no. AITA for telling my family I don't want to be part of their holiday tradition anymore. So here's the deal. I, 30M, have a pretty close-knit family. My parents, 2 brothers, 27 and 25, and a sister, 22. We live in the same city, and we've always celebrated the holidays together. Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, you name it. Everyone gathers at my parents' house, and it's this big thing. The problem is, over the years, the togetherness of these gatherings has started to feel more like an obligation than a joy. I don't want to sound ungrateful. I really do appreciate the effort my family puts into hosting, but these holiday gatherings have become really stressful for me, and I finally reached a breaking point. I've tried to voice my frustrations before, but nothing changed. So I took a different approach this year and just straight up told them that I didn't want to participate in the Christmas festivities this year. Let me give you some context. Ever since I can remember, these holidays have been a huge spectacle in our family. Every year, there's this unspoken competition about who can put on the best dinner, who can have the most extravagant decorations, who can come up with the best gifts, etc. At first, it was all fun, but as I got older, it became exhausting. The expectations, the pressure, the constant comparisons. Honestly, it felt more like a performance than a family gathering. This year, I just couldn't deal with it anymore. The constant judgment, the passive-aggressive comments about who bought what gift for whom, and the forced happy family act. It's just too much. I've also been dealing with some personal stuff, and I just needed a break. I thought I would go somewhere quiet, have some time to myself, and relax for the first time during the holidays in years. So I told my parents I wasn't going to come to their house for Christmas, and I planned to spend the time doing my own thing. To say they were upset would be an understatement. My mom cried when I told her. She was like, "It's a family tradition. We all come together, and you're just going to leave us?" My dad, who usually doesn't show much emotion, gave me this disappointed look and said, "I thought you'd at least try to make it for us this year." My brothers were more passive about it, but my sister straight up called me selfish, saying I was ruining the family's Christmas. She said she felt like I was rejecting them, and that it was inconsiderate to put my own needs over the family's tradition. They all tried to guilt-trip me into changing my mind. My mom said she'd have a hard time enjoying Christmas without me there, and my dad said that I was making the family feel unimportant. I ended up feeling really guilty, but I stuck to my decision. I told them that I loved them and that this wasn't about rejecting them, but that I needed to take care of my mental health and have some space this year. Well, the drama didn't stop there. A few days later, I got a call from my aunt, my dad's sister. Apparently, she had heard about the situation and called me to talk some sense into me. She went off on me about how family is everything, and that no matter what, I should show up for them, especially during the holidays. She even accused me of being ungrateful for everything my parents had done for me over the years, and how I was taking them for granted. That really stung, and I started to second-guess myself. But I still decided to stick with my plan. Then, on Christmas Eve, my mom sent me a long text message, saying she felt like I was abandoning the family and that it was breaking her heart. It felt like the guilt trip was on full blast. At that point, I started questioning whether I was being too harsh or unreasonable. I've been to all the family holidays for years, and this is the first time I've ever wanted to do something different. But part of me also felt like I couldn't keep going through the motions for the sake of tradition when I didn't feel genuinely happy about it. The real kicker was when my older brother, 27, posted a picture of the family together on Christmas Day. He tagged me in the post with a caption, wishing our brother could have joined us for the holidays. Hope he's happy in whatever he's doing. The implication was pretty clear, that I was the one messing up the family dynamic and not appreciating the importance of togetherness. When I saw that post, I felt like I was being called out in front of everyone, and I was kind of pissed off about it. It felt like a public shame session, and I really didn't appreciate it. Now, here's where I'm torn. My family is still upset with me, and I feel like I've ruined Christmas for them. They keep bringing it up in the group chat, and I'm getting pressure from everyone to just come back to the fold, and not let this stupid issue ruin everything. On the other hand, I feel like I'm being forced into a mold that I just don't fit into anymore. I'm not a kid anymore, and I have my own life and my own needs. It wasn't even like I was doing anything wild. I wasn't throwing a party or anything. I was just spending the day alone. So, AITA, should I have just sucked it up and gone to their house for the holiday? Or is it okay for me to take a step back and not participate in this family tradition anymore? I'm really conflicted here and could use some outside perspective. AITA for telling my sister she can't bring her kids to my wedding after they ruined my engagement party. I, 28F, am getting married in a few months, and my fiancé, James, 29M, and I have been planning our wedding for about a year now. We wanted a relatively small ceremony with close family and friends, and we made it clear from the beginning that we'd prefer no kids at the wedding. This decision wasn't made out of any malice or anything. We just felt that the more intimate setting would be better for us. Plus, we knew some people wouldn't be able to attend if they couldn't bring their kids, so we were okay with a few exceptions. I've always been very close to my family, and my sister, Karen, 32F, is one of my best friends. However, we do have some disagreements when it comes to how she raises her kids. Karen has 2 kids, Emma, 6, and Noah, 4, and she loves them a bit. She's a great mom, don't get me wrong, but she has this tendency to let them run wild. And while she does try to discipline them, there's only so much that's actually effective. At least in my opinion. They've always been a bit loud and unruly when we get together as a family, but I've always tried to bite my tongue because they're kids and they're family. But things came to a head at my engagement party a few months ago. It was supposed to be a nice, intimate gathering with close friends and family. We had a private venue, food catered, and everyone was excited to celebrate. Karen brought Emma and Noah despite my clear request that no kids were to be invited. She assured me they'd be well behaved, and at the time, I figured it wouldn't be a big deal. However, that night turned into a disaster. From the moment they arrived, the kids started causing chaos. Emma kept running around the venue, knocking over glasses and yelling, and Noah was throwing food everywhere. I tried to be patient, but after a while, it became too much. At one point, Noah knocked over the cake. Not just a little accident, but a full-on spill. The entire cake splattered on the floor. The staff had to clean it up, and we had to scramble to find something to serve as a replacement, which added stress to the evening. It wasn't just the cake. Emma kept grabbing at my dress, pulling on it, and at one point, she accidentally ripped the hem. Karen barely seemed to notice, and when I tried to gently pull her aside to address the issue, Karen said, "Kids will be kids, calm down, it's not that big of a deal." She also kept brushing off my frustration by saying, "You know they don't like sitting still for long, just let them enjoy the party." At this point, I was beyond frustrated. As the night went on, things only got worse. Noah had a tantrum because I wouldn't let him play with the expensive decorations we had around the room. He screamed for a solid 10 minutes, throwing himself on the floor, and when Karen finally intervened, she gave him a snack to calm him down and let him run around again. Meanwhile, Emma and Noah were running into my friends, knocking drinks over, and causing general mayhem. The party had to be interrupted multiple times, and people started leaving early because they couldn't relax with the noise and chaos. By the end of the night, I was in tears. James tried to console me, but I was so angry and hurt. The engagement party was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life, but instead, it felt like a nightmare because I couldn't enjoy any part of it. Afterward, I was visibly upset when I spoke to Karen about how her kids behaved. I told her that it wasn't just an innocent mistake. It was disruptive, disrespectful, and ruined the night for everyone. She got defensive and said I was being dramatic, that kids are just like that, and she didn't see what the big deal was. I told her that I had made it clear no kids were invited, and she had ignored that. We didn't speak for a couple of weeks after that, and when we did, I told her that I couldn't invite her kids to the wedding, given how badly they behaved at the engagement party. Now, she's really upset with me. She keeps saying that it's her right as a mother to bring her kids to family events, and that I'm punishing her children for things they didn't mean to do. She says that I'm being unreasonable, and that she's been part of my life long enough that I should just accept the kids. She even said that if her kids can't come, she won't come either, and she's been making passive-aggressive comments about how it's my wedding, not hers, but I'm still going to regret it in the end. I know that my wedding is supposed to be about what I want, but I really don't want to cause a rift in my family over this. My parents are also caught in the middle. They understand where I'm coming from, but they've also said I might be going too far. They believe I should let it go because it's just one day, and it's a family event, so I should be more understanding. But James and I have been discussing this, and neither of us wants to deal with the possibility of another chaotic situation like at the engagement party. James is also not too keen on the idea of having the kids there, and he's backed me up 100%. I'm really torn. I want to be understanding and respectful, but at the same time, I can't ignore how much the kids disrupted my special day. I feel like Karen is being unreasonable, but I also don't want to lose her or cause further strain in the family. So, AITA for refusing to invite my sister's kids to my wedding after they ruined my engagement party. AITA for kicking out my sister after she tried to take over my wedding. So a bit of context. I, 28F, am getting married in 6 months to my fiancé, Adam, 29M. We've been together for 3 years, and while it hasn't always been easy, we've both been really excited about this next step. The thing is, I've been planning the wedding for over a year, and I've been very hands-on about every detail. I've always dreamed of a small, intimate wedding, nothing too extravagant, but something special. I've spent countless hours picking the venue, the dress, the flowers, everything. Adam is happy with whatever I choose, as long as it's what I want. Now, my sister, 32F, let's call her Jessica, has always been the type to want attention. She's dramatic, and for some reason, she always wants to be the center of attention at family events. Growing up, she was constantly in competition with me, and this pattern has continued into adulthood. Don't get me wrong, I love her, but she has a way of overshadowing others, and it's been a source of tension between us for a long time. When I first started talking about my wedding plans, Jessica seemed genuinely interested, but I quickly realized that she was more interested in her vision of the wedding than mine. She started suggesting things like, "Oh, it would be amazing if you did a destination wedding in Italy. We don't have the budget for that, by the way." Or, "You should totally wear a more modern dress, something like a jumpsuit." She'd show up to family dinners and talk about how she imagined the wedding would be, and honestly, it started to make me uncomfortable. But the final straw came when she began making decisions on her own. Without asking me, she went and booked an appointment at a high-end bridal shop to help me pick out my dress. I already had a dress that I loved, and I made it clear to her that I didn't want any more suggestions. She insisted on coming along to the appointment anyway, claiming it was a sisterly, bonding moment. When we arrived, she told the sales associate she's looking for something edgy and different, something that will make a statement. I was mortified. I felt like she was trying to make my wedding about her. I ended up leaving the appointment early because I couldn't handle her constantly pushing her preferences onto me. But it didn't stop there. Jessica started making plans for the bachelorette party without consulting me. She rented a private villa for a weekend getaway and invited 15 of her own friends without asking if that's what I wanted. When I told her I'd prefer a smaller gathering, she brushed it off, saying, "You'll love it when it's all arranged, trust me." At this point, I was getting really frustrated. It wasn't just that she was pushing her ideas onto me, it was that she was treating the wedding like it was her own. A couple of weeks ago, my fiancé and I sat down with my parents to discuss wedding plans and logistics. Jessica showed up uninvited and started throwing out suggestions for the guest list, the catering, and even the seating arrangements. My mom noticed I was getting visibly upset, so she told Jessica to back off. That only made Jessica more determined to get her way. She told my mom that I was being controlling and ungrateful because I wasn't letting her help make the wedding perfect. That night, Adam and I had a long talk about the situation. He knew how close I was with Jessica, but he also saw how her behavior was affecting me. We both agreed that something had to be done before the wedding spiraled out of control. So, I did something I never thought I'd do. I told Jessica she was no longer welcome to be a part of the wedding planning. I told her she was being disrespectful and that I needed her to step back. I also made it clear that if she couldn't respect my wishes, she wouldn't be a part of the wedding at all, even as a guest. I said this calmly but firmly, and while she looked shocked at first, she quickly got defensive. She accused me of being selfish and throwing away our bond as sisters just because I wanted everything to go my way. She also pointed out that it was her dream to be involved in the wedding planning and that she had been planning my wedding in her head for years. I told her that I understood she had her own vision, but that it wasn't her wedding to plan, and I was tired of her overstepping. Since then, things have been tense between us. She's barely spoken to me, and when she does, it's all passive-aggressive comments. My parents have told me I went too far, that I should try to make up with Jessica, but I'm not sure if I want to. I feel like I gave her plenty of chances to back off, but she kept pushing. I know it sounds harsh, but I honestly believe that if I had let her keep pushing me around, the wedding would have been a complete nightmare. She's made everything about her, and I'm tired of trying to keep the peace at the expense of my own happiness. So, AITA for kicking out my sister from the wedding planning? So, this is kind of a long story, and I honestly don't know if I'm in the wrong here or not. So I'm hoping some unbiased perspectives will help. I, 28F, have an older sister, Rachel, 32F. We've had a complicated relationship for most of our lives, but it's been mostly manageable. We've never been super close, but we were never outright hostile until about 2 years ago. That's when the issues started spiraling. The thing that caused the rift started with my mom. She's always been a bit overbearing and, at times, prefers one child over the other. It's subtle, but you can feel it. I've always been the more independent, free-spirited one, and Rachel's always been the more do everything right and please everyone kind of person. Because of this, Rachel is generally my mom's favorite. They often gang up on me, making me feel like I'm the black sheep of the family. A lot of the issues came to a head when Rachel got engaged. It started when Rachel's fiancé, Mike, 30M, made a really inappropriate comment at a family dinner about how it's not that hard to be successful in life if you just make good choices. He's the kind of guy who's very proud of his self-made status, and he doesn't shy away from letting everyone know about it. My parents, particularly my mom, ate it up. I was sitting there just listening to him talk about how hard work always pays off if you just make the right choices, and it really rubbed me the wrong way because I've worked my ass off in a totally different field, and I don't always have the same kind of success that he's referring to. I'm an artist, which I know sounds a bit cliche, but it's my passion, and it's something I've stuck with even though it's not the easiest road. I've always felt a bit less than when it comes to my family's expectations of me, especially in comparison to Rachel, who has a much more traditional career path. So when Mike made that comment, I felt like he was implying I hadn't made the right choices in life. I didn't react immediately, but after the dinner, I pulled Rachel aside and told her that I found Mike's comment to be incredibly dismissive and condescending. I told her that I'd appreciate it if she would talk to him about it, because it wasn't just about me. It was about the way he views people who don't follow the traditional success path. Rachel was not receptive at all. She told me that I was being too sensitive and that Mike was just trying to be motivational. She didn't see what the big deal was, and she dismissed my feelings completely. That really stung, especially coming from her. After that, we got into a huge argument. I tried to explain how her fiancé's comment made me feel like I was being judged and how it reinforced this idea that my lifestyle choices weren't valid, but she wasn't hearing any of it. The whole situation made me feel really alone and unsupported by her. I ended up leaving the dinner early because I just couldn't deal with it anymore. A few months later, Rachel and Mike announced their wedding plans. I tried to get over the issue, but it was still fresh in my mind. I considered talking to Rachel again, but I wasn't sure how it would go, especially with her being so defensive about Mike. Eventually, I got an invitation to the wedding. I was torn. On one hand, it's my sister, and I wanted to be there for her. On the other hand, the way she treated me after the whole Mike thing still hurt, and I wasn't sure I could show up and pretend like everything was fine. I ended up deciding to have an honest conversation with her. I told her that I wasn't sure I could attend the wedding because of everything that happened, and I didn't want to make a scene or ruin her special day. I explained that I still didn't feel like she had taken my feelings seriously, and that I wasn't sure I could show up for her and Mike when I felt so disregarded. Rachel immediately got defensive. She told me that I was making everything about myself, and that the wedding isn't about me, it's about her and Mike. She said that if I couldn't get over something so small and trivial, then maybe I shouldn't come at all. I was taken aback by her response because I thought we were having an open and honest conversation, but she immediately shut it down. About a week later, I got a message from her, and this is where things took a turn. She told me that if I wasn't going to let go of the ridiculous issue with Mike, then I wasn't welcome at the wedding at all. She basically uninvited me in the most passive-aggressive way possible. She said that it was her and Mike's day, and if I couldn't support them fully, then it was better if I just didn't come. At first, I was shocked, but then I felt a mix of relief and anger. Relief because, honestly, the thought of attending the wedding under those circumstances didn't sit right with me. Anger because it felt like she was completely disregarding my feelings again. I didn't argue with her. I just told her that I respected her decision, and I wouldn't be attending the wedding. I haven't heard from her since. Now I'm stuck. A few mutual family members have reached out to me, expressing their disappointment and saying that I'm making a huge mistake by letting this go unresolved. They've told me that weddings are about family and that I should put aside my differences for the sake of it being her big day. But I feel like if I go, I'll be letting my feelings be invalidated all over again. I'm also wondering if I'm just being stubborn and immature about the whole thing. I love my sister, but I'm really hurt by how she's handled this entire situation, and I don't know how I'm supposed to just move on from it. I've been second-guessing myself because it feels like I might be making a mountain out of a molehill, but at the same time, I don't want to just get over it if I still feel disrespected. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she disinvited me due to the family dispute. AITA for refusing to pay for my best friend's wedding after she called me selfish for not wanting to contribute. So, a bit of background. I, 28F, have been best friends with Amanda, 30F, since high school. We've been through a lot together: college, breakups, moving to different cities, you name it. We've always had a close relationship, though we've definitely had our ups and downs. Over the years, I've always been the one who would support Amanda emotionally, financially when needed, and have always tried to be there for her. I'm not saying this to be self-congratulatory, but to give context for how much I've invested in this friendship. A few months ago, Amanda got engaged to her fiancé, Tom, 32M, and I was thrilled for her. We talk a lot about her wedding plans, and she asked me to be her maid of honor. I was excited and agreed, but as the planning progressed, things started to feel off. First off, she made it clear that she wanted her wedding to be luxurious and perfect. She had all these grand ideas that were way out of my budget, and she insisted on everything being top tier. She started asking me to help pay for certain aspects of the wedding, things like the flowers, the photographer, and even some of the venue costs. I was uncomfortable with this, but I didn't want to upset her, so I told her I'd help out where I could. But as time went on, her expectations kept growing. It became clear that she wanted me to be financially involved in a much bigger way than I ever anticipated. For instance, she asked if I could cover the cost of her bridal shower, which I agreed to, but then she wanted me to pay for the bachelorette party too. I'm not rich. I'm a single woman with a modest salary, so I was already stretching my finances thin just by agreeing to these things. Then came the final straw. She sent me a breakdown of recommended wedding costs, which included a request for me to contribute $3,000 towards the wedding expenses. This amount was just for my portion of the maid of honor package, which covered things like the dress, makeup, and a thank you gift for the bride. The thing is, she made it clear that this wasn't optional. She even said that if I didn't want to contribute that amount, I could step down as maid of honor. I was stunned. I took a step back and told her that I couldn't afford to contribute that much money. I explained that I really wanted to be there for her on her big day, but I simply didn't have the financial means to cover everything she was asking. I offered to help in other ways, organizing some smaller aspects of the wedding or providing emotional support, but that wasn't good enough for her. She responded with a message that really upset me, accusing me of being selfish and not supportive because I couldn't afford to contribute financially at the level she expected. She said that a true best friend would be willing to go all in for her, especially for something as important as her wedding. She told me that if I couldn't step up financially, maybe I shouldn't be her maid of honor at all. At this point, I felt like I was being manipulated. I've always been there for Amanda, and I've never once complained about helping her out in the past, but this felt like a whole new level of pressure. It wasn't just about being there for her emotionally or offering practical help. It was about my bank account. I didn't want to feel like my friendship was contingent on how much money I could throw at her wedding. After some back and forth, I told Amanda that I couldn't be her maid of honor anymore. I just couldn't go through with it if it meant putting myself in financial hardship. I also told her I was still happy to attend the wedding and be there for her, but I couldn't financially support her to the degree she wanted. She was absolutely furious. She said I was ruining her special day and that I was selfish for not doing whatever it took to be there for her. She even told mutual friends that I had bailed on her and refused to support her. Some of our mutual friends have reached out to me, saying that I was being unfair to Amanda and that I should just do what she's asking because it's her wedding day, and that's the one day where she gets to ask for whatever she wants. Now I'm starting to feel guilty. Part of me wonders if I should have just sucked it up and found a way to come up with the money for her. But at the same time, I feel like this situation is beyond what a normal friendship should require. So, AITA for refusing to pay for my best friend's wedding after she called me selfish for not wanting to contribute? Hey friends, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. AITA for refusing to give my sister my wedding dress after she had a crisis and try to guilt-trip me? I, 29F, recently got married to my amazing husband, Mark, 32M, in a small but intimate ceremony with about 30 close friends and family members. My wedding dress was a huge deal to me. I spent months looking for it. Something timeless but unique, a little vintage, and definitely not too princess-y. I ended up with a beautiful, custom-made gown that cost a pretty penny, but it was everything I dreamed of. I loved it so much that I'm planning on keeping it, and maybe even passing it down to a daughter someday, if I have one. Now, here's where the issue comes in. I have a younger sister, Kate, 25F, who has always been somewhat dramatic, to put it lightly. She has this habit of making everything about her, and her reactions tend to be very over the top. Growing up, it was clear that she was always the center of attention in our family, and I often found myself stepping back because of her constant need to shine. Kate has been in a long-term relationship with her boyfriend, Ryan, 27M, for a couple of years now. They've talked about marriage before, but nothing serious has happened yet. Kate isn't exactly subtle about her desire for a proposal, and every family gathering, she has a way of bringing it up, sometimes not so subtly. After my wedding, I put my dress in preservation, and that was that. I posted some pictures online, including a few of the dress, and Kate saw them. She was immediately over the top in her response, calling me to gush about how beautiful my dress was and how perfect everything about my wedding was. But then, about a week later, she reached out again, and that's where things took a weird turn. She asked me if she could borrow my dress for her dream wedding. I was taken aback at first. It wasn't that I didn't think she had a right to ask, but I felt it was a lot to ask for something so personal. I told her that my dress was a huge part of my wedding day, and I wasn't comfortable with letting anyone else wear it, especially since I planned on keeping it as something sentimental. Kate didn't take this well at all. She called me selfish and said that it was just a dress, and I should be willing to share it with my sister since we both have similar taste, and she could take better care of it than I did. She told me that I was being a bridezilla and that it was just a piece of fabric that I was getting too attached to. She even cried, saying that if I truly cared about her, I would share this once-in-a-lifetime thing with her so she could feel special too. I tried to explain my perspective, how important that dress was to me, and how it was something I wanted to hold on to as a reminder of my big day. I also pointed out that my dress wasn't something I could just give away because it was custom-made, and if I ever wanted to wear it again, which I did, it wouldn't fit the same after someone else had worn it. Kate wasn't having any of it. She accused me of being cold-hearted and said that I was just trying to make her feel bad because she didn't have a wedding of her own yet. She implied that I was trying to hold something over her because she wasn't married and that it was just typical of me to be so possessive. It wasn't long after that she turned the situation into something bigger. She posted about it on social media with a post about how her sister was selfish and how she couldn't believe I wouldn't let her borrow my wedding dress. The post got a lot of attention from mutual friends and family. Some people tried to defend me, saying I had every right to keep my dress and that it was unreasonable for Kate to expect me to give it up. But others agreed with her, calling me too attached to something materialistic and that it wasn't fair for me to withhold it. I try to stay out of it, but it's been causing a huge rift in our family. Some of my relatives have called me to talk it through and suggest that I make peace with Kate by letting her wear it for her big day, whenever that may come. I've been feeling a lot of pressure to give in, but I don't want to. I don't think it's fair to be made to feel guilty over something so personal and meaningful to me. I've offered to help her find a similar dress or even go dress shopping with her to pick out something special, but she insists that I'm just trying to deflect and doesn't care about what I want anymore. A few days ago, my mom called me, saying that Kate was really upset and felt betrayed by me. She kept asking me, why can't you just share something this important with her? And making it sound like I was the bad guy for refusing. My mom made it clear that I was causing a lot of tension in the family, and she even implied that I was making Kate feel unimportant. I've been going back and forth on this, and while I understand that Kate is disappointed, I just don't feel like I should be forced into giving up my wedding dress for the sake of her feelings. I'm not saying I won't help her find her own dream dress, but I just can't bring myself to let her wear mine. It feels like a big violation of something that's very precious to me, and it's not just a dress, it's part of my wedding memory. So, AITA for refusing to give my sister my wedding dress? Should I just let it go and make peace with her, or is she crossing a line by expecting me to share it? AITA for confronting my best friend after she took credit for my idea and presented it at work? So, I, 28M, have been working at a mid-sized marketing firm for about 3 years now. I'm not the most senior person, but I've built a solid reputation over time for being a creative thinker and coming up with ideas that help our clients stand out. One of my closest colleagues at work is Sarah, 29F, and we've been best friends for about 5 years. We've always had a really close, almost sibling-like bond, and I've been there for her for a lot of personal stuff. She's like family to me. A few months ago, we were working on a new campaign for a client, and I came up with what I thought was a really unique and solid idea that could elevate the whole project. The idea involved rebranding a product in a way that would make it feel fresh and edgy, while keeping the core message intact. It was a gamble, but it could really pay off. I spent a ton of time developing the concept, creating mock-ups, and drafting a detailed presentation. Sarah and I had a meeting with our team about it, and I was super excited to present it because I genuinely believed it was a game changer. But when the time came for the actual presentation, Sarah asked if she could present the idea instead of me. At first, I was a bit confused. Sarah has always been a great communicator, but she doesn't usually take the lead on the creative side of things. I figured it was no big deal, so I agreed. She'd present the idea, and I'd be there for support. Fast forward to the meeting with the higher-ups and the client. Sarah walks in, presents the concept like it's all her own work, and even explains parts of it in ways that weren't in the original plan I had worked on. She left out a lot of key details that I thought were integral to the concept, but at the time, I didn't say anything. I felt uncomfortable, but I trusted her. The presentation goes really well, and our client is thrilled with the idea. The senior managers are impressed, and it's a huge win for Sarah. After the meeting, she comes up to me and is all smiles, saying how great the presentation went. I'm still processing everything and how she took full credit for my work. But I let it slide, thinking I was just overreacting. A week later, I'm at the office and overhear Sarah talking to one of the senior managers. She's boasting about how she came up with the entire idea for the rebrand. I'm shocked, and I feel this knot in my stomach. I've been expecting her to at least give me some credit for the idea, but it never came up. The more I think about it, the more upset I get. It's not just about recognition for my hard work. It's about her, someone I've trusted, taking credit for something I created from scratch. After a couple of days of internal conflict, I decide I can't just keep quiet. I text Sarah and ask if we can talk privately. We meet after work, and I bring up how I felt about the presentation. I tell her that I wasn't comfortable with her presenting the idea as her own, especially when she knew how much effort I'd put into developing it. She immediately gets defensive and says that I'm overreacting and that she was just doing what was best for the team. She also said that I should have been more confident in the meeting if I wanted to be recognized. She told me she thought I was being too sensitive. I'm not going to lie, hearing that stung. She's my best friend, and I thought she'd understand where I was coming from. But instead, she seemed to dismiss my feelings. That's when things started to escalate. I told her that I didn't appreciate her stealing credit, and she got angry. She said that she was only trying to help me by taking the lead, because she thought I'd be too shy to take credit for the idea. I felt like she was twisting the situation to make me look like the bad guy. To make matters worse, she went on to say that this wasn't the first time she had done something like this. Apparently, she's helped me in the past by taking charge in situations where I was too humble or modest. It felt like she was minimizing my contributions and making it seem like I couldn't stand up for myself. I've been sitting on this for a while, and I just don't know how to feel. On one hand, I know Sarah is trying to look out for me in her own weird way. But on the other hand, this is a serious violation of trust. She took credit for something I worked really hard on, and when I confronted her, she didn't apologize or even acknowledge how hurtful it was. Now, things at work are awkward. I don't know if I'm being too harsh or if I'm justified in being upset. I've always tried to be supportive of her, and now I feel like I can't trust her. I've been debating whether to speak to my manager about it, but I don't want to make a huge deal out of something that could just be a misunderstanding. So, AITA for confronting Sarah about taking credit for my idea, or should I have let it slide and moved on? I'm honestly torn because she's my best friend, and I don't want to ruin our relationship over a work issue, but I also don't want to let her get away with something like this. Any advice would be really appreciated. AITA for not letting my sister-in-law stay at my house after she showed up uninvited and expecting to be catered to. I, 32F, have been married to my husband, Ben, 34M, for 5 years now. We don't have kids yet, and generally, things are good. Ben's family is, well, complicated. His mom is sweet, but a little overwhelming. His dad is great. And then there's his younger sister, Mia, 28F. She's always been a bit self-centered, but recently she's been pushing it to new levels. I'm not sure why, but it's been driving me crazy. Mia has always had a habit of showing up at the worst times, unannounced, expecting people to drop everything for her. She doesn't do this at Ben's parents' house because they tend to be more lenient, but she's done it a few times at ours, and each time Ben and I have a conversation about boundaries. We're both introverts, and our space is important to us, especially since we're both working from home most of the time. Last week, Ben and I were in the middle of a home project, painting and reorganizing the guest room. We just moved some furniture around, and things were a bit chaotic. We weren't expecting anyone, so we were just focused on getting things done. Mia calls us around 2 p.m. on a Thursday and says, "Hey, I'm in town, and I'm going to come by in about an hour or so." Ben and I looked at each other, both of us immediately feeling a bit tense. I told Mia that the house was a mess and that we were in the middle of a project. I even offered to catch up with her later in the evening after we were done. But Mia just kept pushing, saying she was already on her way and that she'd just deal with the mess. At that point, I told her it was really inconvenient and that we had plans to get the room done, and honestly, we didn't have the bandwidth to entertain anyone. Mia wasn't happy with this response. She then insisted, "It's just for a few hours, I'll be fine." And when I said, "Honestly, it's really not a good time," she got quiet and hung up. I figured that would be the end of it. About an hour later, she rings the doorbell. At this point, I'm really annoyed. I look at Ben, who's clearly frustrated as well, and we go to answer the door. Mia is standing there with a suitcase. Not like a small bag or anything. She has a full suitcase, looking like she's planning to stay for the weekend. Ben asks, "Mia, we told you it's not a good time." And she just looks at both of us like we've wronged her in some way and says, "I thought you'd understand. I'm just trying to see you guys." At this point, I could feel my patience wearing thin. I told Mia, "You didn't give us any heads up. We're in the middle of work, and this house is a mess. You can't just show up uninvited and expect us to entertain you." Ben was trying to keep the peace, but I could tell he was getting irritated too. Mia started to get defensive. She said, "I don't understand why you're acting like this. It's not like I'm a stranger. I'm your family, and I don't get why you're treating me like I'm a burden." I told her that it's not about her being family. It's about respect and boundaries. I said, it's not personal, Mia, but we need some space and time to get things done, and you showing up uninvited isn't okay. She started arguing that I was being rude and cold. She said I didn't care about her, and she was just trying to see her brother and me, but that we were too wrapped up in our own lives to make time for her. It felt like gaslighting, honestly. I've tried to be nothing but kind to Mia, but it was like she was just twisting everything around. I finally said, look, Mia, you can't just show up without warning. If you need a place to stay, you should have asked in advance, not barged in with no notice and a suitcase. She went silent for a minute, looking at us, then she asked, so you're kicking me out? And that's when I snapped a little. I said, yes, if you're going to act like this, we're not letting you stay. I can't be forced to let someone stay who's not respecting our time and space. Mia's face fell, and she started tearing up, saying, you really don't care about me, do you? I can't believe you're doing this to me. I felt a little bad for her, but also I felt like I was at my limit. I didn't know how else to explain that I had every right to say no. She ended up calling a cab, and we watched her leave. She didn't say much after that, just gave me a cold look and left. Later that night, Ben got several texts from her, all passive-aggressive, calling me controlling and saying I was ruining the family. He tried to calm her down, but I told him, she's not going to listen to reason. She does this every time. The next few days were pretty awkward. Mia refused to speak to me, and when I talked to Ben about it, he said he was upset with the way I handled it. He felt like I could have been more diplomatic and less harsh in my response. I understood his point, but I also felt like I was in the right to set boundaries. It's been a week, and Mia is still not speaking to me, and Ben is caught in the middle. He says that I could have handled it better, but I don't think I was wrong. I feel like I've always been nice to Mia, but she just doesn't respect our boundaries, and at some point, enough is enough. So, AITA for not letting my sister-in-law stay after she showed up uninvited and expecting to be catered to. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she disinvited me for a very petty reason. Okay, so here's the deal. I, 28F, have a sister, Hannah, 26F, who's getting married next month. We've always had a bit of a rocky relationship, but I've always tried to be supportive when it counts. I'm the older sister, so I always thought I'd be in her corner no matter what. However, over the years, we've had some pretty big disagreements, some of which I've tried to resolve, but she's kind of the type of person who holds grudges and never lets go. About 6 months ago, Hannah got engaged to her fiancé, Jake, 29M. Honestly, I had no problem with Jake. He's a great guy, kind, funny, and they seem happy together. At the time, I thought I'd be in her bridal party, since we're close enough, and I've always been a part of the important events in her life. When they sent out the initial guest list, I got a formal invitation, so everything seemed fine. But then a few weeks ago, I got this weird text from Hannah that threw me off completely. It was a simple message. Hey, I need to talk to you about something for the wedding. I thought maybe she wanted to ask me to be a bridesmaid or something, but when I called her back, it was a whole different conversation. She told me that she'd been doing the seating arrangements and that she had to make some tough decisions about who would be in the wedding party. She told me that because of family dynamics and unwanted tension, she was no longer comfortable having me in the wedding. She didn't even explain what the tension was, and when I asked, she dodged the question. All she said was that it was for the best and that she didn't want me to feel uncomfortable. But here's the kicker. She said, don't worry, you're still invited, just not in the bridal party. Now, I was stunned. I've been in every major life event for her. Her high school graduation, her college graduation, and even when she moved into her first apartment. We've had our moments, sure, but I've always been there. So this felt like a complete slap in the face. I was so confused that I asked her if I did something wrong, but she insisted I didn't. She just said, it's just better this way. I pressed her more, trying to get any kind of explanation, but she refused to elaborate further, saying she didn't want to argue. Now, here's where I might be the asshole. Instead of just quietly accepting this, I did something I probably shouldn't have. I told her that if I wasn't going to be a part of the wedding in any meaningful way, I didn't want to attend at all. I told her that if she didn't want me involved in her wedding, then I didn't see why I should show up as just another guest. She was immediately upset, accusing me of making everything about myself and being dramatic. She told me I was ruining her special day by not supporting her decision, and she even went as far as to say that I was throwing a tantrum like a child for not understanding her perspective. She added that if I didn't like her decision, then I shouldn't bother coming at all. At this point, I felt completely betrayed. It didn't feel like a small issue to me. It felt like she was deliberately excluding me from something that should have been a celebration of our family. The whole thing just felt wrong, and I'm not one to stay quiet when I feel disrespected. My parents, who are both incredibly neutral people, got involved after Hannah told them about our conversation. They tried to mediate, but honestly, I don't think they fully understand why I'm so hurt. They just keep telling me that it's her wedding and she gets to choose who is in her bridal party, which I get. But it's not just about the bridal party. It's about the way she completely disregarded our relationship and made me feel like an outsider in my own family. I know I've been a little stubborn in this whole situation, but it feels like this was just one more example of how Hannah has always put herself above others. She's been like this since we were kids, and I've spent years trying to accommodate her needs, even when it meant putting mine on the back burner. So, when she excluded me from the wedding, it just hit me hard. Since then, she's told me that I'm no longer invited to the wedding at all, and that if I can't be happy for her, she doesn't want me there. It's been a week since that final conversation, and I haven't heard from her. She blocked me on social media and hasn't answered any of my texts. It feels like she's totally cut me out of her life over this. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she disinvited me from her bridal party for reasons she wouldn't explain. I'm not sure if I'm overreacting or if I actually have a valid reason to be upset. I love her, but I feel like she's treating me like I don't matter. Should I have just sucked it up and gone as a guest? Or am I justified in feeling hurt and refusing to attend the wedding altogether? AITA for refusing to let my sister-in-law move in after she got kicked out of her apartment. So I, 29F, have a husband, Jake, 30M, and we've been married for 3 years now. We both work full-time and are in the process of saving for a house, so we've been pretty focused on our careers lately. My sister-in-law, Clara, 26F, has always been a bit of a handful, to put mildly. She's the type of person who's constantly getting herself into difficult situations, but never seems to learn from them. She's also been known to be a little reckless with money and has had a few sketchy relationships in the past. Clara and I have never really gotten along all that well. I'm more of a get your act together type, and she's always been kind of the opposite, carefree, impulsive, and a bit of a drama queen. We've had our share of disagreements over the years, but we've managed to keep things civil for the sake of family. So here's the issue. A few weeks ago, Clara called me in tears, saying she got kicked out of her apartment. She told me she couldn't stay there anymore because her landlord was raising the rent, and she couldn't afford it. I didn't know the full details, but it wasn't the first time she'd been in a housing mess, so I wasn't totally surprised. I asked her what her plan was, and she said she didn't know, but she was trying to find a new place. Now, Jake and I live in a 2-bedroom apartment, and it's already pretty cramped. We've talked about getting a bigger place, but like I said, we're saving up for a house, and we don't want to stretch ourselves too thin. We've also got a spare bedroom that's mainly used for storage. I told Clara that, while I sympathize with her situation, I wasn't sure we could have her move in with us, especially since we were already trying to cut back on expenses. She got really upset and said I was being unsupportive and selfish. She told me she had no one else to turn to, and I was her last hope. I felt guilty, but at the same time, I knew that having her move in would be a huge disruption to our lives. Jake and I both work from home sometimes, and adding another person to the mix would complicate things. Plus, Clara doesn't always follow boundaries. The last time she stayed over for a weekend, she went through our kitchen without asking, used my skincare products, and basically made herself at home like she lived there. I wasn't a fan of that, and I wasn't sure I wanted to go through it again. I tried to explain all this to her, but she just got more upset. She told me that I was choosing my perfect little life with my husband over family, and that family is supposed to stick together, even when things get hard. I still didn't feel right about offering to let her move in, so I told her that maybe she could find a temporary place or stay with one of her other friends or relatives. She said she didn't have anyone else to ask, which was hard to believe since Clara tends to burn bridges wherever she goes. At this point, Jake was kind of caught in the middle. He knows how difficult Clara can be, but he also hates seeing her upset. He told me I should try to be more understanding, but he also didn't want to get into a situation where Clara would take advantage of her hospitality. We argued about it for a while, and in the end, I stood my ground. I told her we just weren't in a position to take her in, and that was final. Clara was furious. She accused me of being heartless and selfish, and she said that she was done trying to be a part of this family if I couldn't even help her out when she needed it. I felt terrible, but I still couldn't bring myself to offer her a place to stay. After the argument, things have been really tense between me and Clara. She hasn't reached out to me much, and I'm not sure where we stand. A few days ago, she posted something on social media about fake family and how some people only care about themselves, which I'm pretty sure was directed at me. Some of Jake's family members have reached out to ask if everything's okay between us, and I've had to explain the situation multiple times. Most of them have been supportive of me, but a few have said that I should have helped Clara out, especially since we're family. So, AITA for refusing to let my sister-in-law move in? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she uninvited me over a family dispute? I, 28M, have a sister, Rachel, 30F, and we've always had a somewhat complicated relationship. We grew up in a household where my parents were very focused on my sister's success and achievements. She's always been the golden child, straight A student, captain of the soccer team, and basically the one everyone praised. Meanwhile, I was more the rebellious type. I wasn't a troublemaker, but I did things my own way, often to the dismay of my parents. I didn't really care about academics that much, and I took a gap year after high school to travel and work in various countries. My sister was not impressed with my choices, and for a long time, there was tension between us because of that. Fast forward to a few months ago, and Rachel got engaged to her fiancé, Tom. It was a big deal in our family, of course. Everyone was excited. The wedding plans started immediately, and Rachel made it clear that she wanted everything to be perfect. She asked me to be her best man. At first, I thought it was a bit strange. I've never been super close to her, but I accepted because I thought it would be good for our relationship, and, frankly, I wanted to be there for her on one of the biggest days of her life. The wedding planning was stressful, and my sister became increasingly demanding. It wasn't just about her wanting things to be perfect. It was about her expecting everyone else to conform to her exact vision. She told me that she wanted to control every little detail of the wedding, from the guest list to the decor, the food, the music, and yes, the speeches. It became clear that she wanted me to give a speech at the wedding, but she also had a very specific idea of what she wanted me to say. She wanted me to talk about how amazing she is, how perfect she's always been, and how proud I am of her. Now, here's where things started to go south. I'm proud of my sister, but I'm not going to stand up in front of everyone and essentially deliver a speech about how she's been perfect all her life. I wanted to make it more personal, talk about how we've had our differences, how she's always been the one everyone relied on to be the perfect child, and how I've learned a lot from her and the way she's lived her life. I thought it would be an honest, heartfelt speech. When I brought this up to her, she completely lost it. She said that if I wasn't willing to say what she wanted, then I didn't deserve to be part of the wedding. She argued that it was her day, and I should do what she wanted. I tried to explain that I wasn't trying to upset her, but I wanted to be true to myself. She accused me of making her wedding about me and not respecting her wishes. Over the next few weeks, we had multiple arguments about the speech. Every time I tried to explain my side, she would shut me down. Finally, she told me that I was being selfish, and that if I couldn't respect her wishes, then I shouldn't attend the wedding at all. This felt like a slap in the face. I had already agreed to be in her wedding party, and now she was telling me I wasn't good enough for that role anymore just because I didn't want to lie in a speech. I felt heartbroken. She's my sister, and I've always wanted to be there for her, but I also wanted to be able to express myself honestly. The idea that she would uninvite me over something like this seemed so petty. I told her that I couldn't be part of the wedding if she was going to treat me like this. She didn't seem to care much and said that I should stop being so dramatic and just move on. At this point, I told her that I wasn't going to attend the wedding at all. I didn't want to be part of a celebration where I wasn't respected. My family is mostly on her side, especially our parents, who think I'm being unreasonable. They keep telling me that this is her day, and I should just let her have it. They've also mentioned that I'm being too prideful and that I should apologize to her to smooth things over. But here's the thing. I don't feel like I've done anything wrong. I'm not asking her to change the whole wedding, just to let me give a speech that feels authentic to me. She's the one who's being controlling and dismissive of my feelings. I get that it's her big day, but am I really in the wrong for standing my ground on this? To make matters worse, she's told all our mutual friends about what happened, and now I'm being painted as the villain. I've heard whispers that I'm a bad brother and that I'm ruining the wedding by being so stubborn. People keep telling me I should just apologize, but I don't know if I can bring myself to do that. I feel like if I give in, it'll just reinforce that she can walk all over me whenever she wants. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she uninvited me over a speech disagreement. AITA for telling my sister she can't stay at my house because of her behavior towards my girlfriend. I, 27M, have a sister, 24F, named Emily, and we've always had a bit of a complicated relationship. We grew up close, but over the years, she's developed a tendency to be really controlling and judgmental, especially when it comes to my personal life. The tension has gotten worse since I started dating my girlfriend, Lily, 26F, about 2 years ago. Lily and I met through mutual friends, and from the moment we started dating, things just felt right. She's kind, intelligent, and supportive. The problem is, Emily doesn't like her. I'm not entirely sure why, but from the beginning, she's been really cold toward Lily. At first, I thought it was just typical sibling protectiveness, but over time, it became clear that Emily had a deeper issue. She's made several passive-aggressive comments about Lily's appearance, her career choices, and even her family. I've talked to Emily about it, and she insists that it's just her honest opinion, but it's honestly just rude. I try to get Emily to warm up to Lily, but nothing works. Every time the two of them are together, there's some sort of tension. Emily will make cutting remarks, then pretend she didn't say anything wrong when I call her out. It's reached a point where I've had to ask Lily not to attend family events if Emily's going to be there, because I don't want her to feel uncomfortable or disrespected. This has caused a lot of strain in my relationship with both of them. A few weeks ago, Emily called me out of the blue and asked if she could stay with me for a few days. She's in between apartments, and her lease ended earlier than expected. I live alone in a decent-sized apartment, so I told her it wouldn't be an issue as long as we set some ground rules. I told her that if she was going to stay at my place, she needed to respect my relationship with Lily. This meant no making snide comments or creating an awkward atmosphere. Emily agreed, but I didn't really trust her, given her past behavior. The first day she was staying with me, things were relatively calm, but I could tell something was off. Emily was acting distant, and I could tell she was purposely avoiding speaking to Lily, even when we were all in the living room. After a few hours, Emily dropped a comment about how it must be nice to have a girlfriend who doesn't have to work full-time. Lily is a freelance graphic designer, so she works from home most of the time, but it's still a full-time job. Emily knows this, but the comment was just another jab. I let it slide at first, but later that evening, things took a turn. Emily and Lily were both in the kitchen at the same time. I could hear them talking. I wasn't paying much attention, but I overheard Emily say something along the lines of, "I can't believe you haven't gotten a real job yet. Freelance work is for people who can't hold down a normal 9 to 5. That was the last straw for me. I walked into the kitchen, asked Emily to step outside, and told her that she needed to leave my apartment immediately. She looked shocked and asked what she had done wrong, so I explained that I wasn't going to tolerate her disrespect toward Lily anymore. Emily started crying and accused me of choosing Lily over her. She said that I didn't care about her feelings or her situation. I told her that I was just trying to have peace in my home, and I wasn't going to let her sabotage my relationship. She kept begging me to let her stay, saying that she had nowhere else to go, but I stood firm and told her to leave. She ended up leaving, but things have been really tense between us since. Our parents have gotten involved, and they've both called me to tell me I was being unreasonable. My mom said that Emily was just jealous of how serious my relationship with Lily is, and my dad said I should have been more patient with her, considering she's going through a tough time with moving. But the thing is, Emily has never apologized for her behavior, and I honestly don't think she's capable of doing so. I feel like I'm always the one who has to smooth things over when she's in the wrong. Now, Emily is saying that I'm not a good brother and that I'm siding with Lily over family. She's been posting passive-aggressive things on social media about me, and I can tell she's telling people that I kicked her out without warning. I feel guilty because I know she's struggling, but at the same time, I can't keep enabling her behavior toward Lily or me. I want to be a good brother, but I also don't want to sacrifice my relationship just to keep the peace with Emily. So, AITA for kicking my sister out of my apartment because of her behavior toward my girlfriend? Was I too harsh, or did I do the right thing? I feel stuck between wanting to support my sister and not wanting to let her walk all over me or Lily anymore. I could really use some perspective on this. AITA for telling my friend I couldn't be her maid of honor after she demanded I drop my other plans for her wedding. I, 26F, have a close friend, Rachel, 27F, who has been one of my best friends since we were kids. We've been through a lot together, and I would say that our friendship is one of the most important relationships in my life. We always said we'd be there for each other no matter what, and I've been happy to be there for her during major events like her engagement and all the planning for her wedding. She recently asked me to be her maid of honor, and while I was thrilled, I also had some reservations. The wedding was set for the fall, and I already had a long-standing commitment. Every year, my family goes on a week-long vacation to a cabin by a lake in late September. It's something we've done for the past 10 years, and it's important to me to keep that tradition. I told Rachel about this when she first asked me to be her maid of honor. She was understanding at first, and I thought it would work out. However, as we got closer to the wedding, things started to shift. I was helping Rachel with a lot of the wedding details, picking out bridesmaids' dresses, arranging the bachelorette party, and so on. But when it came time to discuss the schedule for the wedding weekend, Rachel casually mentioned that the wedding would be on the weekend of my family trip. I told her again that I had already made plans with my family and that I couldn't miss it. She didn't react well. She said it was unacceptable that I would prioritize a family vacation over being there for her on such an important day. I was a bit taken aback. I tried to explain that it wasn't about her wedding, but that I had been doing this family trip for years and couldn't just bail on them. She told me I could just leave the trip early or come later. I was honestly stunned by how she reacted and how little empathy she seemed to have for my situation. I told her that I felt like she was being unfair and that asking me to give up such an important family tradition felt unreasonable, especially considering how much I was already helping her at the wedding. Rachel went quiet and then got really upset. She said if I wasn't willing to drop everything for her wedding, then maybe I wasn't the right person to be her maid of honor. I was shocked. I thought she'd be understanding, but it felt like she was putting her own needs ahead of everything, including the years of friendship we had. I spent a couple of days really thinking about it. I tried to imagine myself not being there for her on her big day, but at the same time, I felt like I couldn't just abandon my family over this. I decided that I wasn't willing to cancel my family trip, but I also didn't want to lose my friendship with Rachel. I called Rachel to talk it out. I told her that I had thought long and hard, and I was sorry, but I wasn't going to be able to be her maid of honor. I explained again how much my family trip meant to me, and I offered to still come to the wedding. I would attend the ceremony and reception, just not be a part of the bridal party. I would be there to support her as a guest, not as an official part of the wedding. Rachel was furious. She said I was being selfish and that I didn't care about her enough to make her wedding a priority. She told me I was breaking her heart and that it wasn't just about missing the wedding, but about me not making the commitment to her that she felt I should. She said she would be hurt if I attended the wedding at all and that it was all or nothing. I honestly didn't know what to do at that point. I tried to explain to her that I had been supportive in every other way, and that this was just an unfortunate scheduling conflict, but it didn't seem to matter. She said if I wasn't willing to be her maid of honor, she didn't want me there at all. I felt devastated. I'd always been there for Rachel, and this felt like an ultimatum I wasn't prepared to face. I didn't want to lose my friendship, but I also didn't think I was in the wrong for wanting to maintain my family traditions. We ended up getting into a huge argument, and since then, we haven't really spoken much. The wedding is in a few weeks, and I'm really unsure what to do. Now I'm wondering if I'm really in the wrong here. I know weddings are a big deal, but I feel like my family deserves my time too. Am I being selfish? AITA for choosing my family trip over my best friend's wedding? Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos also. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.